Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. How are you doing? My name is Amanda Ellis, and a very warm welcome to my channel. If you have just found me, I do all sorts of things on this channel. I like to keep it fresh, interesting, hopefully exciting. And one of the things that I do is channeling. And there is a big back catalogue of my previous work called Heart Squad, where I've channeled a number of stars that have passed over. They always come through not just to say hello, but always with quite a powerful message, which is always relevant for the times that we're in. And today's is going to be no exception. Before we get to the main subjects that I'm going to ask Marc about, I will just say that the energy feels so light, so buoyant, so happy, so excitable. Absolutely, it's his energy. But equally, I'm also a little bit excited about doing this because he's one of my heroes. I grew up always admiring Marc Bolan and T-Rex, even though I was only 10 when he died. So I hadn't really got into his music at all when he was alive, but I found it after his death. And indeed, in my household, the fact that I said to one of my daughters yesterday that I was going to channel Marc Bolan, and she said, "Who is he?" And I said, "I bet you know one of his songs." And I put Hot Love on or Get It On, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I know." So definitely it's time for a renaissance of Marc Bolan, I feel. And if you are an old hippie like me, even though you didn't live through that summer of love, I was born in the summer of love, 1967. Have I ever worn flowers in my hair before? No, I don't think I have. Maybe when I got married, but Marc insisted on me doing this, and he wants us to have a bit of fun and get some of the joy back into our world and into ourselves. That being said, we're also going to explore in this video, and I'm going to ask him about how we can help our young people. In particular, maybe a focus on young men, but not exclusively at all. Anybody who is young at heart is what he's saying to me. He is here to help. So definitely there are going to be some messages for the youngsters, whether you are one, whether you're a parent of one, whether you are a guardian of one, or whether you have lost that youthfulness, that spark of joy within yourself, and you need to re-find it again. So we're going to have a good time today, and let's just get going. So his energy is already here, but let me just spray this energy. It's the Rainbow Bridge. It is a gateway and connection spray to spirit, and it will just help me to strengthen my connection to him, and also for you hopefully to feel this beautiful infectious energy that I'm feeling here right now. So let's create this beautiful gateway and doorway and connection for Marc Bolan today. And let me just spray this. It is the 1st of June, so it's the start of a brand new month. And I grew up, and he also is British, with an expression which is pinch, punch, first day of the month, no returns. I remember doing it as a kid, and it's a very childish, innocent thing that we used to do. Pinch, punch, first day of the month, no returns. If you do it first to me, if I do it first to you, you can't do it back to me. And he likes that. He's got a beautiful sort of mercurial, tricksterish type energy, but in a very beautiful, innocent way. So Marc Bolan, welcoming you in. And it feels like he's just really bouncing in. His energy reminds me of some of the other people that I've channeled, although he is, of course, exclusively his own soul, his own essence. But there is obviously a nod to Bowie, David Bowie. There's also a nod to Prince. It feels as though Prince brought through the energy of levitation, and I seem to remember one channeling I did, he actually did sort of levitate his way across the room, and that's how I was seeing him. Marc's a bit like that as well. I'm seeing him cross-legged and in the air basically, so he's not actually grounded. And he's saying to me that this was true for much of his life, that he was airy is the way he's explaining it. Somebody who found it quite hard to ground and settle. That probably was also a product of the fact that he knew he wasn't going to be here for very long. He did have a premonition of his death and believed that he wasn't going to make it past 30, and he did die at age 29, and I'll get to his numerology in a moment. But I'm just feeling this very airy, bouncy energy, and I'm seeing him cross-legged, but he's not, as I say, he's levitating. Let me show you a picture of him for those of you that don't know. I've chosen a couple that I feel represent his energy rather nicely. This one I particularly love, and is of him sitting in a field with his guitar. I rather admire your hair, Mark, there. It's really rather lovely. It's how mine can look on a good day. He's laughing. But he was known for his beautiful chestnut curls. He says, you sound like you're in a hair advert. It's very banterish. His energy is very banterish. And actually, we've been bantering back and forth all morning in a very light-hearted way. So for those of you that this gateway and portal is going to open up an introduction to him, and he may very well come through as a guide or a mentor for you, as many of these Heart Squad members do, to help bring the laughter back more than anything else, and the creativity back and the joy back. Just know that it's a very playful banter that you get with him back and forth. And I see him doing that when he was alive as well, just this playful banter back and forth. He enjoyed social interaction, he enjoyed other people, but there was also this very shy, introverted side to him, which we'll talk about in a moment as well. But anyway, this is one of the photographs that I've chosen, which I think is very him, sitting in nature. He had a strong elemental energy, very much connected into the elementals, the nature spirits, the fairies. And in particular, what I'm connecting in with him is he's showing me the unicorns. So he was famous for his song, Ride a White Swan, but I'm wanting to say Ride a White Unicorn. So we're going to be tapping into the unicorn energy as well with him. It feels as though he comes in on that. I will say at the start that one of the symbols that he gives me linked into him is a daisy, and there's quite a bit to say with regards to the daisy. Now, I'm aware that in the UK we have a load of daisies all over the place all the time now, and they're obviously very small, and we make fairy chains with them, daisy chains, fairy chains. This is a larger daisy type flower. It's one that was just lying on the pavement yesterday in fact, when I went for my walk. But I'd already deduced that Mark was telling me that the daisy seems to be a symbol linked into his energy. And let me just tune into that. So what it feels as though it's about is, again, the energy of innocence and purity. But what he is showing me is that the daisy, pretty much like any flower, but particularly a daisy, if you've ever, and as children, what we used to do was I don't want to do it to this flower because he doesn't like to hurt elementals, but we would take one petal off, and it would be, he loves me not. He loves me, he loves me not. He loves me, he loves me not. And then the petal that you're left with, he loves me or he loves me not, told you whether he loved you or not. It's just one thing we used to do growing up as kids. So, and the game was fun because there were so many petals on the daisy. Now, why this is relevant to Mark's energy is that it feels as though he was one of those people, and he still is in spirit, that is just shooting off in so many directions, multitude of ideas, of thoughts, of words that would tumble out. I don't know whether he had something with his speech where sometimes he struggled to get all of his words out, or whether it was just that there was this big back catalogue within him of unwritten prose, poetry, words, songs. I'm just being shown a fountain, like a fountain of energy. But the daisy, it's like all these things just going off at 100 miles per hour in all sorts of different directions. It's as though his brain was firing on all cylinders all the time, pretty much 24/7. And that probably was quite hard to live with, maybe, for him as well. So I feel as though he never completely understood himself that well. I mean, he died at 29, but now as a soul, he's understanding just the the beauty of the complexity of all that he is and was, but equally the importance of going back to the center. And it feels as though he's saying to us, it's important that when we get bursts of creativity, or we've got all of these ideas, that we center them and ground them, because otherwise we can have all of the best ideas in the world, but they never amount to much. So yeah, the daisy, the shooting star, these seem to just be sort of little symbols that he's around. So, you know, daisies in unexpected places, or as yesterday with me, that one just lying at my feet when I was walking. But equally, it could just be, I don't know, daisy prints. Or yesterday I walked into town and I saw this beautiful photograph frame and it was just all daisies around it. Just be aware that the daisy is going to be become something you're seeing everywhere if you're particularly tapped into this guy. Now, of course, it's not just daisies, it's flowers, it's all of it. It's all of the elementals, but definitely the daisy is what I want to give you. Right, I want to go back a little bit now, and I'd like to talk about his numerology, because I believe he was into numerology. He's nodding his head. In fact, he feels really excited to be here with us today, and it's as though somebody else did this. It could have been I think it might have been Prince. It was somebody who was like looking at all my books and all my decks and all my crystals. And I just feel as though he was very interested in the esoteric. And if he had lived longer, he would have got more and more into that. I also picked up yesterday that, again, whether it was something he did when he was alive or whether it was something he would have done if he had lived longer, I got the energy of going to secondhand shops, thrift shops, jumble sales, vintage type things, liking rummaging round charity shops. I was in one the other day and I felt Marc's energy there instantly. And he's saying to me now that they're a great place to pick up some old gear. And what he means by that is, in fact, I was looking for one yesterday, Marc. This is another beautiful photograph of him. And he's obviously got the beautiful feather boa around his neck because he was very flamboyant. He was known for, you know, his glam rock. And I was looking for a feather boa and it was like, there's got to be one here. And he was like, keep rummaging, you'll find one. But I was out of time. So yeah, you know, he's just saying you can pick up some great stuff in the secondhand shops. And he said, this is a nod to where we are now as well. It's as though because things are maybe a little bit more mediocre in terms of the offering that we have now with regards to, for example, clothes. He's talking about the way people dress nowadays being more like a industrial uniform, he's saying. It's like an industrial uniform of just blue jeans and a T-shirt or something. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it because he's not judging anybody, but he liked to dress up and he's now showing me this energy of just dressing up, a great big box of clothes, of items. He's in it. He's rummaging to the bottom of it. He's seeing what's there. He's trying on different shoes. There's scarves. There's hats. Hats are very Marc as well. I'm seeing lots of hats. I was drawn to buy a hat yesterday. I didn't do it, but he's saying go back and buy it. So yeah, so this is the way this video is going to go, guys, because his energy is 100 miles per hour. He's shooting off in God knows how many directions. So you might need to rewatch it to get all the bits from it, because I'm not going to slow him down. He said, no one can slow me down. He's saying this was my problem. I couldn't slow myself down either. He's saying, go back to the numerology. Okay, so the numerology explains this thing about living life at 100 miles per hour and what happens sometimes when you don't learn to change gear, is what he's saying. Because he was born on the 30th, and number 30 is linked to the poet. It's linked to somebody who is the artist, the musician, somebody with all of these creative ideas and creative talents. But the danger with number 30 all numbers have positives and things that you're meant to master in a particular lifetime. So I'll put it that way rather than it being a challenge. It's just something to work on. But the more negative side of 30 is that you can be prone to burnout. And ultimately, what he did in many ways was burnout towards the end. I don't know his full life history, and I haven't wanted to sort of read over it because I like to come into channelings fresh. But I do believe there was a time when he went to America and he lost his way. He lost his way in America. I believe he also turned to drugs, even though he was anti-drugs. He just lost his way, but it was like he was burnt out. And of course, the way he died, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but he was killed in a car crash. His car went into a tree, although that's a bit contentious because did it really? We'll come to that as well. It was just this bright light that came in, lived life at 100 miles per hour, put down all these beautiful tracks for future generations, enjoyed himself, he's saying. I enjoyed my time on planet Earth, but then it was all over in a flash. And he's saying that he's taking me now to the death scene. And he's saying it's as though I didn't comprehend that I was actually dead for a while. It was as though it was all over so quickly. One moment I was in the car, I was on my way somewhere, I was with friends, I was he's showing me he was laughing, he was enjoying the moment, and the next the car is just this sort of steaming pile of junk. It's like smoke coming out of it, and he's saying I escaped from that wreckage. And what he means by that is he escaped the wreckage of the car in terms of his soul. So the body, whatever happened to the body, by the time that was found, he was long gone. So he was saying, my soul exited that scene of tragedy very quickly, so I didn't suffer. He's telling me he didn't suffer, but he says what he did experience was just this confusion in terms of where am I? He's showing me that he was, and I'm hearing now the police car sirens. So he said by the time the ambulance and the police cars and the sirens and people knew that there had been a tragedy on the road, he said I was long gone and I was just walking down this corridor, and this corridor just feels grey. Actually, it's like a grey corridor. It's not to say he didn't go to the light, because he did, but he's saying there was a lot of fog, there was a lot of confusion. I didn't understand what had happened. I felt discombobulated. I felt as though I just didn't understand it. So show me then you in this tunnel. So I'm seeing him in the tunnel after death. He's saying, of course, I did manage to make my way out of it, don't worry. But he's showing me an energy of him crawling on his hands and knees, a bit like commando style, a bit like, in an assault course. And he's showing me the energy of in an assault course when you have to go underneath a net and you have to, put your body flat to the floor and you find your way through this netting and then you get out of it. It's like, oh, okay. And then on to the next thing. So it feels as though his journey to the light was more of an obstacle course than what I've seen before for other people. And I think it's just because it was unexpected. It wasn't something that he thought was going to happen on that day. He said, even though I had a premonition, yes, that I wouldn't make 30, you can say these things and you can feel these things and you can know them to be true. But actually, you don't expect it to be that particular day. You don't expect it to be that particular moment. You don't expect it to be on that day. So I'm being shown the obstacle course. I don't feel he was in it for very long, but it feels as though it's something that he's still remembering as he comes more earthbound to speak to us, that his exit from the earth plane was a little bit more convoluted in terms of getting to the light. I am wondering whether there were any drugs in his system. I don't know whether I'm right in that, or residue of that. It could have just been alcohol, or if it's not that, it's something where I feel as though his state of mind prior to the car crashing was a little bit spacey. And I can't quite make out, because his energy is spacey and excitable and talking 9 to the dozen, and that's just him. Whether it's that I'm picking up, or whether there is actually something in his system that's making him even a little bit more hyper than normal. Now, I don't believe he was driving the car, because he didn't drive, did he? So he wasn't driving the car. But I'm just feeling that, yeah, this confused state might have been heightened by something else. Okay, so in the corridor, obstacles. Yeah, it really was. He's now showing me, it's like a gymnasium. You know those, it's bringing back horrible memories, Mark, of PE lessons for me in school. Like big wooden rings that hang from a ceiling, like monkey rope type thing, where you're having to do that. So there's this thing about being flat on my belly, in this pathway to the light, and then I'm like on like monkey straps, and I'm finding my way. I'm having to go down, and then I'm having to go up. Very weird, very weird. He said it was very weird. He said it was trippy. Anyway, right, show me how you then merge into the light. Okay, so he says it then just became a natural process. Okay, he's saying there was a part of me that was resisting going to the light, because I still felt as though I had more to do. He's showing me all these incomplete projects and ideas, and he's showing me scraps of paper which he'd written things down, which wouldn't have made any sense to anybody else, but it was an idea for something. It was part of a new song lyric, or it was, I don't know, a colour scheme for a room, or something he wanted to do, a place he wanted to go to. So this obstacle course was also part of his initial reluctance to fully go to the light, to fully let go of the earth plane, because he'd died young. So he said what had to happen was that the light that he was being invited to enter, i.e. the afterlife, it had to grow stronger. He said as I got closer to it, I could feel the pulse of it getting stronger and more inviting, until it was just a case of complete surrender, because I knew that what I was going to was better than what I had left behind, and that it was okay to leave it behind, and it was okay to start a new chapter, a new cycle. Now, for some reason, he's showing me the fact that he goes through the portal, the gateway to the light, barefooted. This seems to be a thing with him, bare feet. I'm just noticing that in my energy, channeling him. I'm barefoot, sat here, was just hanging the washing out. He insisted I take my shoes off just to hang out the washing on the line. There's this thing about being barefooted with him. So I'm then seeing him going into the light. And I'm seeing a crown being placed on his head, actually, but it's like a fairy crown. It's a bit like what I've got here, like not fairy crown, a floral crown. He's making me laugh because this is really random. He's showing me these female spirits, okay, so like angelic energies, but he said they were really pretty, and he's pretty, and I'm wanting to say buxom, like pretty and buxom, and well, no, I have heard the word buxom, but it's more just this energy of femininity. That's what he's shown me. This beautiful energy of divine feminine energy just came around him as he transitioned and passed to the light, and it's they who are giving him this beautiful garland that they put onto his onto his hair. And it's as though they were honouring him as somebody who had been in touch with his divine feminine energy when he was alive. So it just feels very beautiful. And then he's showing me that he then had to go where all souls have to go. He's calling it a rest room. Okay, it's like a rest room, a relaxation room, a waiting room, before the next phase of transition to the light. And the rest room, as I understand it, Mark, is a place of recovery and healing. So, and he's saying, yes, that is the case. And everything is there. And it's also the place where you do your life review and you see the impact that you've made on people. Now, what's interesting is he's saying to me that his life review, and I've never seen this before in anybody else, but he's saying it's true of all souls. This is fascinating. He's saying my life review wasn't just retrospective in terms of the difference that I'd made to people in my life, good and bad, because he says I certainly wasn't a saint, good and bad, the effect that I'd had on other people during my life. But he's saying I was also shown the ramifications and the effects that my being present on Earth for the 29 years that I had would make to future generations. And he's showing me the energy of his music as a living, breathing energy that he was shown would continue and that other generations would refine. And he's saying, Amanda, and I'm getting quite emotional. He's getting emotional, but I'm feeling his emotion. I'm feeling his heart space. He's saying, I am so grateful to you for honouring me in this way. I am so grateful to the respect that you're showing for allowing me some time in your day. I'm so grateful to the people that are assembled here to listen to me after all these years. I am so grateful to the people that I seeded something in and who I have seen bloom and have never lost that spirit that they had in the 60s, in the 70s and beyond. Thank you. Profoundly thank you. How beautiful is that? Thank you, Mark. Right, okay. And this is the first time he's actually just been quiet, having said that. He said, yes, I've learnt to reflect more in my time here. He said, I'm just so excited to be here. And I don't want you to apologise, Mark, because it's as though he's wanting to apologise for speaking 9 to the dozen. But that's you. That's who you are. That's an aspect of your soul. We're living in an era, Mark, where many people can't speak up, don't have a voice, don't feel as though they can express their individuality, are worried about being mocked, are worried about what other people will think all the time, want to follow the crowd. It's beautiful that you were a trailblazer who was able to break out of the box in that way. And that's why I'm so grateful that you're here to help us. Right, I'm going to go to some of the questions that people have for you, Mark, but I haven't actually done the numerology, have I? So let's do that now because it's fascinating. I talked about the number 30. He was born on the 30th of September, 1947. And actually, 27 minutes in, let's just quickly read not his whole biography, obviously, but let's just read a little bit from Wikipedia in terms of what they say you were about. And you can either nod or not. So it says, this is how Wikipedia describes you, Mark. Marc Bolan, born 30th of September 1947, died 16th of September 1977. Oh, okay, so the September energy is important for you. He was an English guitarist, singer, songwriter and poet. He was a pioneer of the glam rock movement in the early 1970s with his band T-Rex. He strongly influenced artists of many genres, including glam rock, punk, post-punk, new wave, indie rock, Britpop and alternative rock. He was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2020 as a member of T-Rex. He died in a car crash, 1977. Music critic Ken Barnes called Bolan the man who started it all. And I have to say, Mark, this is the banter we have between us, but I just want to publicly say, two of the heroes of mine you inspired. No, four. I can think of so many people that I admire that have got me through my life musically that you inspired and who give credit to you. One, absolutely David Bowie. Boy George, love Boy George, Mark Armand, in particular, those three. I believe Mark Armand, actually, his real name is Peter, but he called himself Mark with a C after you. And he's been the soundtrack of my life. So the point is, I'm trying to make here, that he's inspired so many people, so many great musicians that we've still got now, and those that have passed over. He was a pioneer. He was one of the first. He was a trailblazer. So we've got so much to thank him for. But anyway, back to the numerology. I will get there in the end. And we will get there, Mark. Right. 30th of September 1947. Now, he comes out, my friends, as a master number 33. So that's impressive in its own right. So he's a poet. He's a creative who was also a master number 33. Highly evolved, high vibration. I mean, no wonder I can still see him and he's still levitating. He's still cross-legged. It's just mastery. His life was a masterpiece. And people have asked Mark, do you regret that it was over too soon? In some ways, he's answered that. But no, he did complete what he came here to do. It's also fascinating that he was born just after the end of World War II, 1947. And if you think back, I mean, I wasn't alive, but I would imagine that there must have been just such a sense of, yes, elation that the war was over, but the recovery period, the damage that we then had to pick up the pieces in all countries and, excuse the pun, soldier on in a different way, get back to it, get back to the basics, get back to, earning a wage, getting back to work, families being put back together. It was a very... I'm sure it was a very, very difficult time, and he's showing me it as a grey time splattered with colour is how he's expressing it, 1947. And he came in on this, with the end of World War II, as an explosion of colour with this master number 33 energy. He also died age 29. 29, 2 and 9 make 11. 11 is also a master number. 29 is also a number which is about, and I've said this many times before because 29 crops up a lot on the people I read on, but 29 is known as the master spiritual Olympic athlete. I think I got that right, is somebody who came to achieve gold in this lifetime. And interestingly, the Colour Mirrors bottle that relates to this, number 29, is called Grace Under Pressure. And it does talk about an obstacle course, the fact that, you're running the race and you only achieve mastery by going through the obstacle course. You don't get a gold medal in life for anything unless you put in the hours, you put in the training, and you have to jump over some hoops. So isn't it interesting that actually when he was talking about transitioning to spirit, that I see an obstacle course as well. So he's saying to me now that, that transition to spirit was part of it all. It was made to be difficult for me. Because that's just the way it is. And he's not bigging himself up here because he does have this very humble side, but I'm feeling that. Okay, what else do I want to say before we get to the questions? I must tell you the story. Now, Mark was laughing his head off at this. So, Marc Bolan only came in literally a couple of days ago, even though he's been requested before. But me deciding I'm definitely going to do it, it only happened on, what day is it today? Saturday, Thursday. And what happened was I was driving in my car, and when you're flipping stations to try and find a decent song, I flipped the station 3 times. Each time it was Get It On by Marc Bolan. And I wasn't flipping to get rid of Mark. I listened to Get It On, and then something else came on. I thought, I don't like that. I'll flip the station. Get It On 3 times. So I thought, that's a sign. And then I went into the supermarket. Now, at this point, I've got Mark's energy all around me. And in my head, I'm thinking about, oh, gosh, yes, we could ask him about that. I'd already started to pick up all this beautiful flower power energy and, everything I've described so far in this video. So he's there, his energy's all around me, within me, etc. I get to the till, and it's a checkout till, which do still exist sometimes in the UK. And there's this big burly guy on the checkout. Now, I only mentioned that he's a big burly guy with great big meaty arms. He's about my age. He's like a real man, what we used to call a real man. I'll probably get told off for saying that because, of course, a real man is also a man like that. Okay, but I'm talking about the stereotypical. Sort of going back to the 70s. Anyway, nice bloke, but I noticed it because I'd got this very ethereal, feminine Mark energy around me. So it was just the contrast more than anything. Anyway, he's putting all my shopping through, and his phone goes, and I don't think they're supposed to answer their phone, but anyway, it was a text message that had come in, and he just said to me, he said, that'll be my son. He said he probably wants me to get something. And so I said, oh, my daughter does that. I said, usually every time I'm at the checkout, and this is true, every time I'm at the checkout about to pay, Lucy in particular will text me to say, can you get this? Can you get that? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, oh, my son probably wants me to bring some food home. And I said, oh, well, with a daughter, it's usually toiletries. I said, it's always toiletries that they want. And then this is the bit that was so interesting. He said, I've got a daughter as well. He said, she's not really a girly girl, though. He said, no, it wouldn't be toiletries with her. She's not a girly girl. And then he said, in fact, she's going to the prom in a few weeks' time. And he said, do you know what? She doesn't want to wear a dress. She wants to wear a suit. And he said, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it, the fact that she wants to wear a suit. He said, none of this fluffy dresses for her. She wants to wear a suit, and it's good with me. And Mark was just chuckling. And I knew what it was, because Marc Bolan was this gender, what in the 80s they called a gender-bending star. And what we mean by that is it's the likes of Boy George, it's the likes of Mark Armand, it's the likes of Marc Bolan. Apologies for the door that's slamming downstairs. Mixing it up a bit. It's not where we are now with regards to, I feel as though I want to actually physically change sex. That's a whole other subject. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what Mark's showing me is the dressing up box, having fun with it, playing with identity. Annie Lennox would be another one from the 1980s, the Eurythmics. She was brilliant, very feminine woman, still around, but always dressed masculine in a suit, and she looked great. So, it can work both ways. This opportunity, he's saying, this opportunity to shake it up a bit, to explore gender in a fun way. He's actually saying in a frivolous way, because he says the thing with a feather boa is you can take it off again. I'm still Mark underneath it all. So I just thought that was such a beautiful story from the supermarket, because I thought, and I came back and I told John, I said, of all days to have that conversation about, the daughter that only wants to wear a suit, doesn't want to dress as a girl, it's because Mark was around me. So he was showing us that, in terms of our youngsters, that it's normal to experiment a bit. And I'm chuckling, actually, as I remember, my brother's going to kill me here, because my brother's a big Yorkshire bloke, and pretty masculine, but I remember as a little boy, we were at a friend's house, and I think we were with girls, and they dressed Paul up in this dress. He was only about 4, and my dad, who's a 6'4" Yorkshireman, nearly passed out because Paul came downstairs. We'd all dressed him up with a bit of lipstick or something, and poor old dad, he nearly had a heart attack. But the point was, it was fun. It was a bit of fun. And has my brother ever worn a dress since then? No, he hasn't. But if he did, it would be a bit surprising, because it would be out of character for him. But there's something here Mark's talking about as well, about the about youth. He wants me to go back to youth. He's talking about the fact that when you are young, you have an opportunity to try on all sorts of different suits. And what he means by this is not just clothes. He's talking about different professions, different ideologies, different belief systems. Now, he's saying this isn't, of course, true just for young people, but it is true that people who are adaptable and will try on new suits, new beliefs, new ideas, new places to go, new identities, even if it's like you cut your hair, you look different, you change your persona in some way. He said that is a symptom of still remaining open-minded and young at heart. He said, because when people get old, he said it's less about the physical body deteriorating, although that is one aspect. He's saying it's the fact that they get old in their mind. They stop they stop experimenting. They become, what's the word? I can't say the word, Mark. Atrophied. I can't say it. Sorry, I can't say that word, but okay, sis, don't worry about it. He's just showing me this spectrum. And you see it more in youngsters. That's what he's really saying. But you also see it in older people who are still young at heart. So I'm now being shown him. He's showing me, an older woman, I don't know, in her 90s or 80s, still experimenting, still making an effort. He says it's also about making an effort. He said, what's wrong with people making an effort, just experimenting? So it's very much that type of energy with him. Okay. Also wanted to mention that in terms of Heart Squad, these people that I've channeled before, who has brought Mark to us? Now, the obvious answer is David Bowie, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but there's somebody else, and it's actually somebody who's still here on the earth plane. Can you guess who it is? I'll give you 20 seconds whilst I have my tea. Who do you think on the earth plane, who is living Heart Squad, has brought Mark to us? Elton John. I feel Elton John's energy very, very strongly. And I'm seeing Elton in his 70s garb in particular, with it's like a skin-tight satin suit. And he's got he's got some sort of star here on his face or up here. It's not Bowie, it's not Starman. I'm seeing Elton John for some reason. So Elton, okay, right, Mark's talking about Elton John. He's saying Elton John is a great example of somebody who's stayed young, who's stayed relevant as well. Okay, he said, I so respect that he's still relevant. And he said, he's showing me Elton John in a studio, a mixing studio. And he's saying he's open to hearing new genres of music. He's open to working with people that have got new, fresh ideas. He's just open. He's young at heart. He's saying Elton will always be young at heart. He's saying that's exactly what I'm talking about. And he's saying Elton John, a good example of somebody who's experimental in just the way that they live their life. And he's saying Elton has a beautiful heart. He has a beautiful heart. He says, I love Elton John. So I'm picking up a big Elton John energy. What I'm not picking up, I'm going to ask him about it, but I will just say Gloria Jones, who was Mark's partner. And oddly, we're going full circle. Gloria Jones was known for Tainted Love, wasn't she? Tainted Love was the song that made Soft Cell and Mark Almond popular. But anyway, Gloria Jones. Now, I've always felt there was like a twin flame energy between Marc Bolan and Gloria Jones. I don't know why I even feel that. I've just always felt it, even though I don't know anything about this lady. Now, I believe she's passed over. I believe they also had a son. But let me just see if he wants to say anything about Gloria. Okay, this is a weird one to say. He's showing me her in a pair of slippers. Now, it might just be an energy of, I believe she obviously died a lot older than he was. When did she die? Let me just see. I'm just getting this energy of an older energy with her, but I'm talking about mindset, actually. Let me see, Gloria Jones. He's saying they were very compatible when they were younger. She died when she was 78. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so he's given me the analogy of people can be friends for, what's the expression, a season, a reason, a time, a place. He's wanting to sort of encapsulate their relationship in like a bubble of time, which is what it was. I'm not feeling her around him as much as I would expect to. So I don't know about the twin flame aspect, to be honest. He's gone, first time all interview, he's gone quiet on me. Okay, so I have to respect that. Do you want to move on from Gloria? Interesting, I just said, do you want to move on from Gloria? What I meant by that is, do you want this channeling to move on from Gloria? Because it feels like it's gone, it's like the energy's dipped. He's saying, yeah, I do. Okay, right, that's fine, Mark. That's absolutely fine. I respect that. We won't probe any more on that, or I won't ask you about that. But there's no bad feeling. It's what I just said. I want to move on from Gloria. Okay, fine. Right. At this point, I'm going to spray a unicorn spray to get the energy back up. I don't know what that was all about. And then we're going to ask some of your questions. Okay, this is a unicorn unity spray, 7th dimensional connection spray. Okay, he's engaged again. He wants me to spray this spray. He says he loves scents. He loves scents. He loves fragrance. It's one of the reasons he loved flowers. He loves the scent of the flower. He said, if I'd still be alive, Amanda, he said, I'd probably be at Chelsea. What he means by that is the Chelsea Flower Show. And he's showing me, he said, I'd be all dressed up to the nines. He's saying, I'd be all dressed up to the nines. And he said, I'd be there with sniffing all of those flowers, quaffing the champagne and having a great time. So I'm just seeing him now at the Chelsea Flower Show is very well renowned. And it's a place where people come to showcase the best of the best, people that grow flowers and do gardens. There's definitely a thing with gardens with him. I think if he'd lived also, he'd probably be, I'm feeling like he'd be in the charity shops, he'd be in the garden, he'd be at Chelsea. He'd definitely still be in the studio. As I say, Elton John is the role model in terms of still rocking it at whatever age Elton still is. And he said the reason Elton still got it is he hasn't lost his passion. And he said, that would have been me. But there's no regrets. His life was meant to be 29 years, okay? Because interestingly, yeah, he's born in the 9th month. He dies in the 9th month as well. So it's like it's a beginning and it's a completion of a cycle. It's perfect. Right, let's go to some questions then, Mark, for you. Let's see what we get. So I've screenshotted some of the questions that came in from people. Let's just get them up and see what they are, because I can't remember. Okay. So, right, there's one here from Richard. Thank you, Richard. Hi, Amanda. Can you ask Mark for some advice on how to help incels, please? Thank you. Now, I'm just going to look up what an incel is, Richard. I believe incel is somebody who has got a bit of an issue with women and a lot of anger. Am I right in that? Incel. Term closely associated with an online subculture of people who define themselves as unable to get a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one. The subculture is often characterised by deep resentment, hatred, hostility, misogyny, sense of entitlement to sex, blaming him. Mark's saying, oh, they sound horrible. He's literally doing like, he said, oh, they sound horrible. He said, oh, I never met any of those when I was alive. Okay, let's get back to that question then. How to help them? Well, they don't love themselves, is what he's saying. This is Mark saying they don't love themselves. So if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? If you don't respect yourself, how can you respect anybody else? If you are disgusted with yourself, how you are going to be disgusted with others, is what he's saying. If you have no peace with yourself, you're not going to be at peace with anybody else. If you are ashamed of parts of yourself, you are going to project that shame onto others. This subculture is a very lost part of society. He's showing me it going more underground. He says the internet has been the perfect blooming space for them because they can hide in anonymity, not show their faces, but can spread the disease of self-loathing projected outward onto others. He said there is no awareness within them that what they judge outwardly is actually what they have within themselves. He said it's actually very, very sad, very sad. It's sad for society, but it's very sad for them as well. And it's very hard to escape, he's saying, particularly when it's supported online by others who agree and buoy you up and saying, I feel the same. Or he said also there's a narcissistic element whereby they get off basically on the attention that they receive. So that the more that they trigger somebody, the more that they promote division, there is an aspect where that gives them a sense of validation it gives them a sense of validation that they are making a difference or they're making an impact, they're creating waves, even if the waves that they're creating are not good. Okay. Right, so I hope that answers that question. I'm going to go quick fire through some of these questions. Michelle, hi Michelle. Advice for teens, please, Mark, who are close to leaving school but don't know what they are meant to do next, especially those with mental health issues, feeling like they are falling or not meeting expectations. So what Mark's saying is don't rush anything. Don't be in, and he's saying, I know that's a lot, that's ironic coming from me. He said, but in many ways, even though I lived my life at 100 miles per hour, in some ways I didn't rush anything because there were lots of things that weren't started or finished properly. So he got his teeth into T-Rex, of course, and the music that he produced, but he's just saying there's a whole other load of stuff that he never did. He's just saying don't rush it. He's saying go at your pace, don't go at society's pace. And he says everybody's pace is going to be different. He's saying there's a whole generation of youngsters and children at the moment who need to go at a slower pace and who are out of sync with the fast pace of society. Interestingly, he's saying that my generation, Generation X, he's saying that you're helping to keep the status quo of this fast-moving arena. And he's giving me an example of something happened yesterday in my hometown. He's not judging it, but it's a good example, Mark. Yeah, you're right. So the supermarket I go to all the time, not the one where I had the conversation with the man. This was another supermarket, my local. I always like chatting to the people on the checkout, and they all know me, and we have a bit of a chat and do our shopping and all the rest of it. Yesterday when I went in, pretty much overnight, there's a whole load of self-service checkouts gone in. Now, to be honest, I went to the self-service checkout more than anything because I was surprised to see it. But actually, I should have made the choice to not do that because I don't like the way society is going with that. Because, if it's only self-service checkouts, there's no human interaction. We're being rushed through quicker than we want to. There's no thought for, and I've said this in previous videos, older people that struggle to pack their bags, that need help, that don't understand modern technology. There's nothing wrong with, and it's very good actually to have face-to-face, normal conversation with somebody on the checkout. Take your time. Do you need help? If you do need help, let me get you help. All of that. So he's saying, my generation need to stand up for that and people are actually, Mark, they are. I'm seeing this more and more. People are actually choosing to queue and having to wait quite a while to go through a proper checkout rather than the self-service. That's the type of example. He's saying because youngsters learn from the older generation. So if the older generation just keep accepting this fast pace, then nothing is ever going to slow down. Okay. So don't rush is what he's wanting to say. And in terms of people with mental health issues feeling like they are failing and not meeting adjustments, he's saying just do you. What others expect, what others hope for you is their stuff. Remember who you are, remember why you came, take care of yourself, tend to yourself as you would a garden. tend to the broken parts, the split parts, the damaged parts, the parts that need watering, the parts that need pruning, and take the time that you need. He's saying a garden, he's back to gardening again, he's saying a garden in full bloom, mature and cultivated, doesn't happen overnight. It takes years to get to that place. So do not be in a rush to achieve. Do not be in a rush to compete with the person next to you. Go at your own pace. Okay. Somebody says here, oh, I loved him when he was alive. He was certainly magic and quite ethereal in a soft, gentle way. He lost his way with drugs like a lot of stars. My question would be, how do we help men find their voices in a divine masculine way? There are so many lost men in our world. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Okay, so this energy of men being lost in our world. Yeah, okay, so he's just thinking. Let me just tune in. It's an important question, he's saying. And he's saying more than anything, society is not taking the time to try to find the answer to that. In fact, he's saying no one is taking the time to even notice or acknowledge it. He's showing me a whole generation of men who are feeling as though they do not have a voice, that it's not safe for them to express it. It's not safe for them to be who they are. I'm hearing the word paranoid. He's saying there's a lot of paranoia out there within the masculine community, and this is just men generally. A lot of paranoia. Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Will I be judged for this? And he's saying women have a responsibility here as well to help balance the books, is how he's saying it. That men don't know their place in the world, and women aren't helping them to find it. He's saying women are the ones that give birth. Women are the ones that give birth to men. Women shouldn't... he's not meaning this to come across quite as strident as it is, but it's like women shouldn't... I can't quite get the word. He's trying to say... dismiss is not the word, but women shouldn't dismiss their responsibility and their role to help men through the course of their life. He's saying, why do mothers have sons? Why do wives have husbands? Why do daughters have fathers? He's saying the daughter has a role in helping the father just as much as the father has a role in helping the daughter. He's talking about, and you see this, he's saying you see this, men who have daughters who light up when they are born, who find an aspect of their self that they never knew, who come into their heart. And then there seems to be something whereby he's talking about when, this is a traditional thing, but certainly in my society, how I was brought up, in the old days, a man, and still sometimes the man would have to ask the father's permission for the wife's hand. And then there's the thing in the marriage ceremony where effectively the father is passing over the daughter to the new man. And then there's this sense sometimes of abandonment. It's almost as though, well, that's my job done now. It's like I'm redundant. You're not redundant. The daughter still needs you and the father still needs the daughter. And it takes the grown-up husband to respect that fact. And for men, however they have the relationship with the woman, to realise that they're all on team Amanda, for example. So, I've got a father, I've got a husband, I haven't got a son, but if I had a son, it would be like a team around me who hopefully are trying to help me to also balance my masculine side within myself, but equally I have a responsibility to help them balance their feminine, or just show what the feminine is, or just this energy of sort of walking beside each other through life. It's as though he's saying men are cut off from their roots. They're cut off from Mother Earth as well, he's saying. They're cut off from Mother Earth. They're not connected to nature. He's showing me the these are his words, the abject misery, the abject tragedy. The abject tragedy is more his words, not misery. Abject tragedy, he's correcting me. The abject tragedy of the internet in terms of the negative sides of it. Of course, there are positive sides. He says, how else do people even know who I am anymore or listen to my music? It's via the internet. But he's saying the negative side of the internet, which we all know about, this closing down, this rooting away from nature. One of you did ask the question. One person asked the question, Mark, with regards to a generation of young men just gaming their life away, basically. In the rooms behind closed curtains, not interacting with each other, not interacting with Mother Earth, not interacting with people in their life, just interacting with a virtual game. And of course, this isn't just men; it's women as well. But he's saying that is not real life. That's not real life. He's getting quite vocal here. He says that's not what's real. He said it's a virtual world. He said you came here to explore a real physical planet with plants that move, with animals that roam, with smells, with scents, with colours, with light, with dirt underneath your feet, with water in your seas, in your lakes, with sounds, with element. That's what you came here to experience and to interact with the people who are flesh and blood and bones. Not some avatar that you're having a relationship with, not some avatar that you're connecting with to escape the real world. He says there's a time and a place for it. Now, don't get me wrong. He's showing me that there's an aspect to his being that he's interested in, for example, computer games. He says, I like the colours and the creative aspect of it and the imagination that it's taken to create a virtual world. And he said there's nothing wrong with doing that and going into that, but not at the exclusion of everything else, everything in balance. So he's saying the tragedy is when people cannot get it in balance and they are escaping into it. They're not also living their life outside of it. Okay. So how to help men find their voices in a divine masculine way. Now, the thing about Marc Bolan is, you might notice, he's got very direct eyes. His eyes are very piercing. In terms of galactic star lineage, we're all a mixture of everything. He's saying I'm a hybrid. He says I'm a bit of everything, but I do pick up the Venusian energy with him. And to be honest, a lot of the Heart Squad have got this Venusian energy. I think I have as well, but Princess Diana definitely has. Quite a lot of them has. I'm seeing a bit of George Michael in him as well, actually. But, the eyes. So there's this thing about looking somebody in the eyes. How do men, how do women, how do youngsters try to find their voice? He's saying it starts with all of the senses. It's not just about the voice. It's not just about speaking and communicating. It's about listening. It's about the ears. It's about looking with the eyes. Can you make eye contact with somebody? Not in a starey way where nobody blinks and everyone gets, totally freaked out. No, just making casual eye contact. There is, he's saying these are lost skills and we are losing these skills, he's saying, because of the advance of technology. He's saying the children of the revolution, one of his songs, of course, were not meant to just not interact and touch and feel and sense and breathe and be living energies. So it seems to be tied into this world that we're all tied to. He's saying, cut this, cut this. Not get rid of this, just cut the time, detox time, very important from the digital world. Because the more that you can, and I said this actually on a video yesterday, Mark, I said we need to disconnect to reconnect. And I really passionately believe that. And I take weeks off occasionally to do that. I've just had one. And you feel so much stronger when you come back. You disconnect to reconnect stronger. So that's very relevant. Okay. Let's see what else people are saying. So this one is from somebody on Instagram. They say, he was the first band I ever saw Tyrannosaurus Rex in 1971 at Brighton Dome when I was 14. Do you remember that? He said, that's a long time ago. I so loved him and have a book of his poems, The Warlock of Love. How special he was. So somebody remembering your poems there as well as your music. He's just saying thank you. Mandy Freeman, I just adored him from 1970-ish. My babysitter introduced me to his music. I didn't realise at that age he was spiritual, but it makes sense now. I'll be watching your video with interest. He's saying we're all spiritual. He's saying we box spirituality, that it has to look a certain way, sound a certain way. He says every single thing that you come into contact with is part of the spiritual world. He says the physical world is a manifestation of the spiritual world. Everything that we see, touch, sense, come into contact with has been manifested from the spiritual world, including you. He said, how else are we conceived? We are physical beings that are conceived from the spiritual world. Yeah. What else? I would like to know, how can people be seen while being gentle? I think people tend to navigate towards more noisy people sometimes, and the gentle people can be overshadowed. How can one stand out while being gentler and quieter? He said, he's saying to me, what he's showing me a party, for example, and we've all been to them, haven't we? And you've got the noisy person who's, got the big crowd, and he's saying often it's false laughter. It's actually false interest as well. He's saying who's playing who in that scenario, who's actually the bigger fool. And he's now showing me the quieter person maybe standing in the corner. And he's saying the really interesting person is the one that goes to talk to them or notices them or even just senses that they're there. Because by doing that, you're showing empathy, you're showing that you have all your senses and all of your antenna open. He said it's easy to navigate to the loudest, noisiest aspect of any room. It takes much more skill and sensitivity and delicacy to notice the other flowers in the meadow, is how he's putting it. Okay, the other flowers in the meadow. So he's saying allow people to be as they are. So the noisy ones will always attract a crowd. The quieter ones, he's saying, you don't need a crowd. You don't need a crowd. He says, in fact, there's a place for self-actualization as well, whereby we are content with our own space and our own company. And he's saying, who's to judge the person standing in the corner that hasn't got any friends or people talking to them? He's saying, actually, that person's probably getting more from the party than anybody else there present, because they are present. They are observing. They are noticing. Even if they are also noticing their own anxiety, their own butterflies, their own sense of feeling isolated, at least they are present with their feelings. Versus he's now showing me a throng of people around the noisy one who are just latching on in many ways, because it's easier to be like that and follow the crowd than to stand alone and separate. He's saying, ideally, it's good to be comfortable in both places, but never judge where you are at any time either. How can one stand out while being gentler and quieter? He's saying he's showing me the energy of a symphony, okay? And a symphony is made up of quiet tones and notes and loud banging gongs. And he's saying all are needed. And he says if you only listen to the loud banging gong, you get a headache. And if you only listen to the quiet little tambourine, you get ear strain. So he's saying there's a time and place for everything. And he's saying during the course of anybody's life, you will have times when you are quieter and times when you are louder. And I've definitely noticed this myself, Mark, I have to say. Even though here I am on YouTube and I suppose I'm loud, I have a presence, I have to speak, otherwise no one would be here. But I've noticed socially I'm much quieter than I used to be, much more withdrawn. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I've done the whole life and soul type energy before, and I don't have to be that anymore. Not that I ever was really that, but you know what I'm trying to say? It's like we can have variations through our life where we come in and we come out. Right, this is a quote, I believe, from David Bowie here, maybe, I don't know. It says, "Ooh, my people were fair and wore the sky in their hair, but now they're content to wear stars on their brow." I'm not sure if that's something you've made up or something Bowie said. "Please ask him if he's met David Bowie now that he has passed over. I'm proud to keep a little mark in my heart." That's lovely. He's saying thank you so much for that. What a lovely thing to say. And he's saying, I always keep a little piece of you as well. He says, I keep a little piece of everybody that I touch their lives with. Okay, so that's what he means. If I touched your life, there's a little bit of you within me as well. He's saying if more people understood that we are all each other, the world would be so much more peaceful. So have you met David Bowie? Okay, let's just go to that. Of course, of course, is what he's saying. He's talking Bowie in spirit here, of course. Didn't Bowie go to his funeral, I think? Anyway, but the point is, in spirit, David Bowie, of course, now is passed. So in spirit. Okay, I mean, I have channeled David Bowie before. For some reason, Bowie's coming through like the Thin White Duke era. I don't know why, but that's what I'm seeing him as. Was the Thin White Duke the suit? Was that the white suit? Okay, I'm just seeing the suit with Bowie, the suit. I don't know why I'm seeing that, but I am. So yes, he's met Bowie. Yeah, long-standing friends is what he's saying. Yes. I just get the impression they sort of chill and hang out, and it's all very casual. I'm just seeing Mark in a meadow again. There's this energy of being in a meadow, but this time he's sitting. I can't see his legs there. He's cross-legged. Anyway, I'm seeing him sort of lounging a bit more. He's got his guitar. Bowie's there, lying back, chewing a bit of grass for some reason. I don't know why. It's all just, like a long bit of grass, like chewing a bit of grass. Passing time is what they're saying. Passing time, enjoying it, enjoying the breeze. Summer breeze makes me feel high, going through the land. Who did that? Let's have a look. Summer breeze makes me feel high, going through the... who did that? It's a 1972 song by American soft rock duo Seals and Crofts. Oh, okay. Right, I don't know why I'm getting that. Should we see what the lyrics are? Because it feels as though I'm being given it for a reason. Summer breeze, all in my mind. Summer breeze, all in my mind. Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind. Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind. See the curtains hanging in the window in the evening on a Friday night. A little light shining through the window lets me know everything's all right. Summer breeze. I don't know, it's just a nice song, but I'm seeing Bowie with that. Right, sorry, I got distracted by the song. Let's go to another couple of final questions. And let's see what anything else. Yes, somebody here, Keen Blue Gaze. Question for Mark. I'd love to bring something from your era through to now. The whole earth, healthy wholemeal foods, homemade kitchen alchemy, conserving, winemaking, home crafts. I appreciate this was a bit of a hippie niche in your time, but were you part of that, or perhaps the women around you doing that? He said, hell no, it wasn't a niche. He said it was, no, I'm getting the feeling this was all ahead of the time. I mean, absolutely. God, my brother brews beer now. He's taking over the whole house. My dad always winemaking. Oh, people are still doing that. Come on, that's going to come back, Mark's saying as well. More people are going to be doing that, given the state of things in the world. Healthy wholemeal foods, oh gosh, that's all coming back. And it needs to, is what he's saying. I will tell you something about food and Marc Bolan. This morning, I'm on keto. I am on keto. It's not a diet. I'm just doing keto, feeling a lot better for it. So I have a keto breakfast. And this morning, I was about to have my breakfast. I thought, I get the feeling Mark was a vegetarian. I'm not sure whether I can have my bacon. I just felt like maybe I shouldn't, a bit like Prince. He makes you clean everything and you've got to be, in the same... Anyway, but the point was, I thought, I'm not sure I can have my normal breakfast, which is eggs and bacon, mushrooms and tomato. I thought, no, I better check. I think he's a vegetarian. And then I checked, and yeah, he is a vegetarian. And then we had this banter, back to the banter, going back and forth. And he's like, you can have some bacon if you want to. He's saying, weren't you doing a video yesterday about unity consciousness and sitting with people of different opinions? And that's where we're wanting to move to as a world. It was a Donald Trump video, actually, middle way. But anyway, the point was I was reminding people about JFK and John Lennon, and a scene from a channeling I did with them for Heart Squad, where we were sitting in a circle and uniting with people who are different from us. And so Mark was really just saying it's absolutely fine. He said, this is the problem with the world. You shouldn't impose your view on somebody else. He said, you do what you want. He said, we'll have a great chat and I'm looking forward to it. And I just thought that is an enlightened view. I'm sorry if it triggers vegetarians, but I live with vegetarians as well, by the way. We have meat eaters in this house and we have vegetarians. I'm mostly vegetarian, but I'm on keto. So yeah, I have to eat meat. But anyway, that's just a good example of it, really. He was into diet. I have to say, also herbal teas this morning. He was very interested in looking at my herbal tea cupboard. All of that. He's in, and I'm going to just light some incense now as we're talking about scent and diet and all of that. Okay, 2 more questions and I think we're probably done for this first video. Do you know what's really interesting, having channeled him? Sometimes when I do channelings, not so much Heart Squad, or just some of the readings I do, you know, at the end of it, you feel really heavy. It's just like it's been hard work, or you got a bit of headache. And I'm not feeling that at all with him. He's just been an absolute pleasure to have here, hasn't he? I really hope you've enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you have. Let's have another question. Gosh, he was my favourite, age 12, and I missed seeing him in Glasgow. I want to talk about Scotland. When all my friends went, we even bought silk jackets. Ride a white swan, Mark. How can we help the young ones off their phones? I think I've answered that a little bit. I have picked up with Mark this very strong energy of Scotland. And I don't really know why, even down to the fact the flowers that I've chosen have got a thistle in them somewhere. Where is it? Let's bring the thistle out. He's saying love the thistles as much as the flowers, as much as the roses, as much as so yeah, there's something about the thistle with him. And let me just put the flower back. He wants me to put it back into the water. Okay. What am I saying about Scotland thistles? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just picking up a very strong Scottish energy with him. So I don't know if it's something to do with his ancestry. I know he wasn't born in Scotland. I believe he visited there, but maybe it's just what is it about Scotland? He just loves Scotland. He loves Scotland. He loves the Highlands. He loves, I don't know. There's just a love of Scotland. There's a love of Scotland. So I'm giving you that. Hello to all his Scottish fans, he's wanting to say. Okay. Final question from somebody. I'm just going to open it up and see what the latest question is, Mark, that's come in. Oh, that's funny. Sorry, there's just, look at that. This is my Instagram. David Walliams. You see, David Walliams makes me laugh. David Walliams is just having a bit of fun. You see, that's perfect. David Walliams coming up. You know who David Walliams is? Yes, he's a great writer. He writes books, but he's such a comic. I love Little Britain. Very, politically incorrect these days, but he just liked dressing up. That's exactly Mark. It's very Marc Bolan. I bet you David Walliams is a Marc Bolan fan. There's something here about, because it's what Mark's saying, I'm now seeing the dressing up box again. Oh, I'm going to dress up and have a bit of fun, and I'm going to push the envelope a bit, Anyway, enough of David. Let's see. Last question to come in for Marc Bolan is what? Let's have a look. Newest comment is from Nadia. Thank you, Nadia. She just says she absolutely loves you. I hope you can feel the love. I absolutely love Marc Bolan. I'm so happy you'll do a video with him. I can't wait. Someone else saying, oh my goodness, I was obsessed as a young teacher. Someone, I'm just trying to find an actual question. Most people are just saying they absolutely love you. I don't know who he is, but he feels very gentle-hearted. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It's being able to just to feel somebody's energy. It's testament to who they are and what they were. Right, final words to Mark. Let's see what he wants to say. How long have we gone on? Oh, an hour and 18 minutes. Time is nothing, he's saying. Who cares? We have all the time in the world. Right, let's just see. Final message from Mark. Just love his energy. I just don't want to really leave it. But anyway, final message, Mark. Okay. He says, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to be here. He's just got this great big smile on his face. I can see his big chestnut curls, his eyes. He's wearing these stripy cotton pants, which are trousers. Namaste. Namaste. See you again, he's saying. I'm going to go and play one of his songs. I'm going to go and play... He's giving me Telegram Sam. Right, so Telegram Sam... Let's just have a look at Telegram Sam. Is it one that I even know? I must know it. Telegram Sam. Lyrics. I don't know. I'm going to go and play it. I can't remember what it sounds like. I'd love to play it to you now, but I might get a copyright strike, so I'm not going to do that. Lots of love, everybody. Thank you for watching. Please, 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 if you've liked this video, give it a like, because when you give it a like, more people get to see it. It's how the algorithm work, and you need to know how to ride the algorithm wave. So thank you. Thank you, Mark. See you again soon. I'm now going to go out into the garden, potter. It's a lovely sunny day, and I'm going to go and try and find myself a feather boa at some point. I'm going to go and rummage in the junk shops. Yeah, go and do that. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.